But in any case, here, this is probably Obamacare versus Affordable Care Act example here because it's sort of an issue. Well, actually, I don't know if that's a good example because it's a government. Is it oh, okay, example. Is immigration, is it an issue of personal freedom? Is it a military issue? Is it an economic issue? Defining things in particular ways is going to be the blinders on horses. And, you'll see this thing this way, but not this other way. Oh no, it's not. It's not anything to do with personal freedom or anything like that. It's all about keeping us safe. It's all about law and order, law and order, law and order. It's not about NYPD Blue. That was a joke, but we see it in a particular way. Defining and naming people. People do this all the time. He's a liberal. He's a socialist. He's whatever. He's there's a lot of that. I mean, we'll come to this soon in this letter. But I've seen a lot of memes where they redress Trump and sort of a Hitler thing. I've seen, and these are sort of visual namings, but we'll get to that. But the way people basically is ad hominem attacks, right? Even the idea of disabled is problematic, right? Because then it sort of assumes that disabled puts the dis in able. Maybe they're just differently abled. So again, naming people, and then there is this process of constantly redefining and renaming that we're constantly trying to fight over terminology because we want our words to win. Because when our words win, when most people see it as this instead of that, then most people have the same sort of blinders on and see this way instead of this over here. Okay. And then there's a lot of theoretical stuff that's not in the book, but in the next chapter, Han talks a lot about Kenneth Burke. But a few things, terms just to keep in mind. One thing is called terministic compulsion. Maybe it's in here. But basically, there is this idea, and I've already said it, but just not in this particular nomenclature, that words and labels and naming definitions, they almost sort of determine, not fully, because we always have agency, but determine how we see the world. We see it this way and not this way over here, blinders on horses. And that is the idea of terministic compulsion. The language that we use and the words that we use and everything like that sort of compels us to see the world this way instead of this way over here. And framing is just sort of the same idea. And then frame, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna learn how to fly high, high. I love that show and movie. So this is just another sort of, well, it's a long, I'll let you read the PowerPoint, but this is a long sort of description, a terrible PowerPoint slide. But frame as sort of a theoretical thing, just like picture frame, or any sort of frame, it frames the thing in a particular way in light of the language. And we can use metaphor. What's a good metaphor for? The United States is in an economic tailspin. And it helps us see the world in a particular way. What did JFK say? What was the frontier, the new frontier? Space is the new frontier, the final frontier to build a goal where no one has gone before. That idea of frontier shapes and frames the way that we see things. And so folks are always trying to frame things, that we should look at these issues this way, look at terrorism as an act of war versus something else, blah, 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 blah. And there's always different sort of labels and different cultural frames that we can use for pretty much anything. People like to use football metaphors. What is it, halftime in America? It's the fourth quarter in America. Who are you going to give the ball to? Trump or Clinton? It is There's 10 seconds left. Who you gonna give the rock to? What's that? In Canada, it's take off who you gonna give the stick to? Curling. I'm ready for the Winter Olympics. Yeah. In any case, so something is an epidemic. Crime is an epidemic. Illegal immigration is a national epidemic. It frames the way we see things. Be kind, reframe. People like to reframe things, right? So oftentimes, no, this is not a disaster. This is not a tailspin. In fact, we're not in a tailspin. We're on the runway getting ready to take off for Hawaii. This is not a cancer on our society. If anything, this is chemo on society. So constantly, reframing certain things. It's a lot of political debates. Even though he says it's not a debate over definitions, people don't say their definitions, but it's a debate over how we shape and frame things and the words that we use. If everybody thinks Obamacare instead of Affordable Care Act, that changes the way you see things. Okay. Meta is beta. I don't know if it matters all this much. But oftentimes we have this, meta is this idea, like meta communication is communication about communication. And so oftentimes, and I just sort of said this, but we get into this debate or this conversation or this competition, whatever, about words. So oftentimes we have reflexive communication that you try to spin your own discourse a particular way using new words. Win, win, win. We are winners. Who won the debate? I did. I'm a winner. But you lost. I'm a winner. Responsive meta-communication, spinning what other folks have said. Did you hear what they said? They hate America. But they said they wanted to they hate America. Evil. Put her in jail. Put him in jail. Jail, jail, jail. So, yeah, there you go. So constantly sort of, it's like junior high or middle school. We're on the, you're a silly little turtle. Nah, turtles are slow. But they, when you really need them, they'll shell out. Language, in conclusion, is solid gold. Number 1. The conclusion to this chapter is really quite interesting. The power of definition is the power to create or destroy. Definitions determine issues and personalities. They help us personalize issues. The Truman Doctrine, Nixon's war, Reaganomics, Clinton's healthcare plan, or depersonalize humans. WAPs, Negroes, kikes, chicks. See? Tough stuff. Through them, we inject people into issues in order to confuse the issues. Or we subtract people from issues so our bloodthirsty acts can seem bloodless. In short, and I'm just reading this to you, the language of politics is simply language. It cannot be used to tell a truth or a lie. It can, be used to tell a truth or a lie. The only inherent difference between the language of politics and ordinary language is that the government holds the central position in the process of solving public problems, and thus is able to determine the issues to be debated and the terms with which the debate proceeds. By controlling our language, the government controls the people, and thus does not need to rely on physical force except at those times when the dialogue has escaped its control and the people have accepted a different set of definitions. In fact, the best way to predict revolutions is to compare the language of the government with the language of the people. If their definitions are too desperate, the situation is desperate. One is holding the bull by the tail, and the other is looking him straight in the eye. Okay. So, I got a letter from Donald Trump, and I'm going to read you that letter. You can see me. Dear fellow American, the one thing I can't do it. Trump thing. Winners. Dear fellow American, the one thing Hillary Clinton fears above all else is this: that Republicans will unite and rally against her. Because if we do not come together and unify behind me and our entire GOP ticket, there is no way she will ever be President of the United States. It really is that simple. I have received more votes in the Republican primaries than any candidate in history. There is a surging groundswell to end the Obama era, kick the establishment elite to the curb, and set America on a new course. Millions of voters are rallying to make America great again, and we can do it too if we all join together right now. Whether you were with me all along or joined the Trump train recently, it is time to unify the Republican Party so we can stop Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and their left-wing special interest allies from taking total control of Washington, D.C. That's why I have created the Trump Make America Great Again Committee, a joint effort led by the Donald J. Trump for President campaign and the Republican National Committee to make sure our GOP ticket has the funds needed to win this November. Hillary Rodham Clinton and the Democrats' single-minded goal is to lock in the Obama agenda permanently and to expand it even further. They won't be satisfied with Obamacare until healthcare is 100% government run. They won't be happy with Common Core until Washington bureaucrats run every school in America. They won't rest until every illegal immigrant is given complete amnesty and the right to vote as a hardened, lifelong Democrat. They won't stand up for America's interests overseas until they've apologized for America's power and greatness. And they won't stop demonizing their opponents until political correctness replaces free speech. I say enough is enough. My friend, I promise you we're going to make America great again. I'm a successful businessman because I'm not afraid to roll up my sleeves and get to work. To be a successful president, you've got to be smart and you've got to be tough. You've got to be able to bring smart people together and use your leverage to make a great deal. I'm going to do that for the American people. From day one, we're going to make real changes that will make America great again. We're going to build the wall on our southern border to stop illegal immigration. The simple fact is, we don't have a country if we don't have a border. And we're going to get Mexico to pay for it because deep down, Mexico knows they're better off with us happy. Right now, our policies make them think we're happy, but we're not happy. We're upset about all this illegal immigration, and we will use our leverage to get them to pay for this wall. On day one, I'm going to end President Obama's terrible executive orders that have attacked our Second Amendment rights and gutted our border security. We're going to make America great again by creating great jobs. One of the things I'm most proud of is creating jobs. I know firsthand there's nothing like helping people by getting them great jobs. When it comes to trade, we're going to start winning again. Right now, we're losing. We're losing hundreds of billions of dollars to China and billions to Japan, Vietnam, and India. Mexico is beating us at the border and at trade. This will stop. Crooked Hillary and her crowd will say, Trump will start